Wei are the underdogs of OWCS Korea. They're able to defeat the mid-tier teams in the region, and they are also able to put up a fight against the top 3, but they are rarely ever able to pull through and win against those teams. Wei is an incredible team that are simply overshadowed by the absolute titans in the Korea region. Crazy Raccoon, Team Falcons, and Zeta Division all seem unstoppable, but today we're going to look at how Wei used an unconventional composition to take a clean map away from Zeta Division in their best performance yet. After a long and grueling regular season, Wei have finally made it to the Korean regional playoffs. They start in the quarterfinals, in what is arguably their most important match yet. They need to win here against T1 to qualify for OWCS Asia, which is a larger tournament that includes Korean, Pacific, and Japanese teams. T1 take Arctic in a close 2-1 map, but Wei quickly turn things around, fighting to stay in the bracket and for their qualification to the Asia LAN. Their methods and compositions are completely different from the other teams, with Aid going as far as running Bastion. Slowly, T1 were overwhelmed.
하바나에서의 승자는 웨이였습니다. 반으로 좀 신중하게 선택을 하고 있는 웨이입니다. 해피 이거는 너무 아픈데요. 거점 열어라. 연장의 승리는 우리 것이다. 흐름도 우리 것이다. 빨리 갈 것 같습니다. 빨리 갑니다. 웨이 눈만 이르게. 이거 만약에 지면? 졌어요. 페피랑 후방이 이번에 또 망가졌어요. 재우고 힘에 넘고 무엇잡고 제스까지 힘에 땡같이 끝났어요. 가자 매치 포인트 가정의 챔피언.
Saravasa was close, and with Wei at match point, everything came down to one final flashpoint.
정중한 한 방입니다. 이게 경험치를 먹은 웨이다. 터치는 되지 않습니다. 이대로 스코어 4대1 웨이의 승리입니다. 야, 확실하게 4등을.
Wei might have won this match and qualified for the future Asia LAN event, but there's still money and prizing on the line. 4 teams remain, the 3 Titans, Raccoon, Falcons, and Zeta, and then there's Wei. The next opponent for Wei is Zeta Division. The first map goes well for Wei, but Zeta Division still take them down 2-1. Taking rounds off of any of the top 3 teams is impressive, but Wei need to do more than that. It's Wei's map pick, and they decide to go with New Queen Street, a map that they had won against T1 the day before. New Queen Street is one of the best ball maps in the game, and this is perfect for Milgaru, who is essentially a ball and hazard specialist for Wei. The ban from Wei is genius. They decide to go with D.Va, and this ban prevents Zeta Division from banning a tank hero, so they must ban a support or DPS hero instead due to the banning rules. So for Zeta, they can't ban ball. D.Va is also one of the stronger counterpicks to ball compositions, but that isn't the main benefit. D.Va is also one of the best counterpicks that Zeta could use to beat Wei's, albeit creative, Bastion+Ana Kiriko composition. D.Va is great for punishing greedy damage-focused backlines, which applies to Ana Kiriko. She's also great at shutting Bastion out, which is a key for this map. Bernard, the tank player for Zeta Division, is also one of the best D.Va players in the whole world. Seriously, this ban is perfect. It's the reason why this Bastion strat can even work here in the first place. Zeta Division ban Ashe. This is a pretty weak ban that doesn't really impact the flow of the game much. Usually this is the case with DPS bans, but not always. Since you can only ban a hero once in a match, teams will sometimes save important bans for certain maps or times during the match. Going with a less impactful DPS ban isn't super uncommon. Aid on Wei has played Ashe in the past, while Flora on Zeta Division prefers to play Sojourn, so this prevents Aid from going with the Ashe pick. This won't matter though, since we already know that Aid is rolling out in something even more nefarious. Both teams roll out, with Maka's Ana and Aid's Bastion taking the coast lane to start. Zeta Division decided to run Malga Brig Juno, and, to put it simply, they decided to run with the most boring composition they could possibly think of. At the start, in this first fight, Maka's Ana is key. Brig Juno Malga particularly struggles with antis, so Maka needs to land them while keeping his distance. Aid's Bastion acts as a sentry that will defend Maka, keeping Bernard's Malga at bay with raw damage output. Aid uses his turret form, and once it expires, Zeta Division can make their move. Bernard's Mauga just has to wait for Aid's Bastion form to be over to be able to walk because it's too much damage. Maka pockets Aid and lands a nade on Bernard. He heals Milgaru's Hazard back to full, and now it's Wei's turn again. Maka swings the corner and spots Pelican's Genji. He had attempted to dash away, but slammed his face against map geometry instead. Maka is able to finish the Genji off with a nade, granting Wei the momentum in this fight. Next, Aid's Bastion is able to put down the dishonorable Mauga pick from Bernard, and this wins the fight. The second fight on push is one of the most important for both teams. It usually takes place at the first corner of the map. If Wei break through here, they will get the checkpoint, and they'll also build dangerous momentum. To start the fight, Maka is on the high ground here. This particular position at this corner fight is very good for Ana, as you'll see in just a moment. Aid jumps up to the high ground using his nade to join Maka. The Bastion+Ana flank is honestly the Marvel Rivals team up we needed all along. The advantage of this Ana position on the high ground is that you can take this quick flank through the Mega Room. Bernard on Mauga is caught completely off guard, slept in the back, and then essentially disintegrated by Milgaru's Nano Hazard. This is the kind of treatment Mauga players deserve, and as a Bernard Glazer myself, I can't even defend him on this one. Bernard decides to swap over to Orisa. Orisa can't close the distance on Bastion like D.Va can, but she can take quite a beating while still holding space. Orisa is admittedly weak right now though, so this map is just going to be a struggle for Zeta. There aren't any easy counters available. Rather than staying in a more defensive position near the Mega Room, Maka makes the risky decision to look for another flank instead. These types of plays work best when you have the momentum in a match, since the opposing team will be desperate to make a play, and they might not be attentive enough to respond to such a greedy move. The move pays off, and Maka is able to land nade. Although he didn't hit the intended target, which was Finn's Juno, he was still able to finish the kill with a perfect flick shot and was able to force Flora's Sojourn away. By the time Bernard's Orisa reacted and turned to chase Maka, the fight was already decided. Oh, and speaking of greedy moves, Violet decided to run blindly into the mini room on Brig against a Hazard composition. Using his Pesh aggressively on Horyu was a fatal mistake that made for an easy punish. Milgaru leapt into the room and Violet was boxed. Wei win their second fight in a row. Even though Zeta lost, they have broken Wei's momentum, at least for a moment. Wei are forced to retreat and wait for Maka to walk from spawn. They allow Zeta to push to the middle of the map before re-engaging, with Maka walking through the same flank angle as before. Let's stop for a quick second to talk about the Ana Kiriko backline. This is a very aggressive backline that is usually used in dive compositions. Instead of playing together, the Ana and the Kiriko will almost always play split, and they're able to cover more ground and take more flanks that way. Usually the Kiriko will be the one taking the flanks, since she can easily disengage if needed, but in certain situations you'll actually see the Ana take the flanks instead. The Ana flanks are particularly effective in this situation because Zeta are using the Brig Juno backline, which is vulnerable to antis. If Zeta were running a backline with Kiriko instead, they can more easily Suzu the anti and kill Maka's Ana, significantly raising the risk of taking those same flanks. This isn't to say that the Brig Juno backline is weak. It was hard meta for several months for a very good reason, but it does have weaknesses. Back to the fight at hand. We see Maka's Ana and Lisa Min's Kiriko split as expected. Lisa Min is playing with the team and uses Kitsune as the engage ultimate. He also looks to support Huaryu's blade. At the same time, Maka goes undetected and gets behind Zeta for an incredible play. The nade turned the tide of the fight, allowing Wei to hold on, even though they were up against Orbital Ray, Rally, and Overclock, which is just a massive investment from Zeta Division. The fight ends in a stalemate and the cart remains in the same position. The real winners are Wei because they managed to force Zeta Division's strongest ultimates. And then, of course, right after, Violet walks in without thinking and he dies again, to a quick dash from Huaryu. I feel really bad showcasing this, especially after knowing Violet was dropped from Zeta, but honestly, if things like this are happening so often, I can't entirely blame them. Our subject Maka did actually make a mistake this fight. He got a little too aggressive off of a nade on Bernard, and then got himself skewered and killed. For some unknown reason though, this kill sent Bernard into a blinding rage, and he decided to solo ult Milgaru's Hazard for... I don't know why he did this, no apparent reason. There's no reason why you would want to do this, but that's another ult down for Zeta, so they only have their blade left. Zeta finally start to make some progress, but they only get 9 meters before Wei return with a hit. Somehow, Aid is able to snipe Flora across the center of the map, which is just a free and easy pick for Wei. Maka isn't one to be outdone though, so he gets a kill of his own on Finn's Juno, quickly closing the fight. There were some swaps before the start of that fight. In particular, Violet swaps from Brig over to Kiriko, and Milgaru swaps from Hazard to Ball in response. Ball does struggle a bit against Brig Juno, but he's much more free against the Kiriko Juno. In general, the Kiri is much worse at defending and stabilizing the backline than Brig is, so Kiri Juno is much worse into dive. Milgaru's Ball is good at bypassing Bernard's Orisa and heading directly for Flora's Sojourn, as well as Finn's Juno and Violet's Kiriko. This quick swap from Milgaru is key to Wei maintaining their advantage on this map, and shows good understanding of how win conditions shift when Brig is taken out of play. Next fight, the ult usage mistakes from ZETA start to show. Pelican's Blade is still the only ultimate available for ZETA, while Wei have both support ultimates as well as the supporting Bastion ultimate available. Aid's Bastional is a good way to open a fight. It's hard to use Bastional mid-fight, so it's best to use it as an engage ultimate. Maka takes another weird flank, this time with an even higher risk because Violet's Kiriko pick can shut it down this time. Maka makes his move just as Aid uses his Bastional. The timing needs to be on point so that ZETA are distracted and focused on the rest of Wei. Maka uses the moment of chaos to land a nade on Finn, with Milgaru swinging in to finish the kill. Maka even managed to get the nano off on Milgaru before dying to a rail shot from Flora. Aid's Bastional had forced Violet's Suzu, so Huryu's Genji dashes in for the cleanup. Wei are at a disadvantage for the next fight due to Maka's sacrifice, but the flank was worthwhile because it bought so much meterage and allowed Wei's advantage to grow. To try and extend this lead, Lisa Min on Kiriko makes an interesting decision, choosing to use Kitsune very early in a defensive fashion to force even more bot push. Under normal circumstances, this would be a complete throw since ZETA are still regrouping, and it's incredibly easy for them to just kite and, run away from the Kitsune. In this scenario though, ZETA might be able to keep their distance from the Kitsune, but they also can't stop Wei from building an even larger lead. They can just sit there in the Kitsune and keep pushing the cart. Violet's actually stuck out in the open during this Kitsune and even tries to use his own, but ends up shredded right after using it. This is honestly what makes the Kitsune from Lisa Min an even better decision, because it won't leave Wei at an ultimate disadvantage anymore. Wei extended their lead by 15 meters and went 1-1 on Kitsune. It's the perfect scenario. Also, Bernard, for some random reason, decided to waste his Terra Surge for the second time in a row. I don't even know what was going through his head during this, this was just not a winnable fight, but yeah, it happened. Aid also built up to his level 3 perks now, so the Bastion becomes even more of a threat. Bastion's Lindholm Explosives perk provides Bastion with additional range and a better matchup into DPS, but he applies slightly less pressure against tanks. This isn't much of a problem though, because shooting Orisa is often a bad idea anyways, especially while she's in Fortify. It's almost a waste of ammo. Next, it's Huryu's turn. He takes Pelican down, then moves on to the backline to maintain momentum. The easiest way to beat Orbital Ray is to play aggressive into it, and that's exactly what Huryu accomplishes with this blade, instantly taking Finn out as he drops it. Although Wei get a few kills, ZETA still have the spawn advantage, and Bernard comes back on Doomfist to try and turn things around. ZETA just barely pull through, but Wei have pushed the bot to the very end, only a few meters off from ending the game early. At this point, Wei just need to win a battle of attrition. It isn't about winning every fight and taking risks anymore. It's just about going 50-50 and running the clock. Milgaru swaps over to Malga after seeing ZETA's new dive composition. Playing Ball into Ana Brig Doom can be tricky, so he decides to overwhelm it with a better Brawl instead. Violet, as always, walks straight in there, and so he makes for the perfect demonstration of how oppressive this Bastion perk really is. Violet just barely escapes, and you can see how Bastion can actually shoot around Brig's shield with this perk to deal splash damage as well. Back to Maka, because he has magically appeared on a flank once again, this time directly behind an unsuspecting Finn. The mechanics are perfect, and he throws the nano onto Huryu to ensure a fight win. The nano wasn't really needed here, since Wei immediately got a few kills right after Maka pulled the ult, but it's an honest mistake, and a mistake that Wei can afford to make with their lead. Oh yeah, and what the hell was that sleep? Maka is just showing off at this point. Wei push, and Maka takes his flank again, but honestly, trying to go for this twice in a row is a massive risk. ZETA positioned differently this time. They knew, and they were ready. Flora on Sojourn is the designated scout in this scenario, and he checks the flank just as Maka swings to nade. Maka decides to back off after the failed attempt, and ZETA decide to prioritize Milgaru's Malga and take the 5v4 while Maka is split. Milgaru is naded and shredded, and although Huryu gets one, ZETA clean up the fight without much issue. This goes to show how fast these top teams can adapt and evolve. ZETA continue to adapt, switching up from Sojourn over to Tracer. The Tracer Genji frontline alongside the Doomfist is great at playing extremely aggressive and punishing the Ana Kiriko backline. It is a backline that is naturally weak to an aggressive dive, but ZETA only have 2 minutes to try to win several consecutive fights with their new composition. Wei start the fight with their Kitsune, but ZETA completely kite it, backing off and giving a bit of card push. They're looking to re-engage with their support ultimates. Maka keeps an eye on Flora's Tracer. The length of the sightlines allow him to scout the Tracer a little earlier, but he has to pay attention. Before ZETA can go for their re-engage, Maka throws a pinpoint nade into the mini-room, which actually manages to anti both supports. Whoeryu gladly takes the opportunity to dash through and kill Finn, and Wei just run with it, only losing aid in the cleanup. This nade is absolutely brutal, and this was the moment that confirmed ZETA's loss. There's just not enough time left to come back from this now. Wei decide to go for it one more time, flanking Ana, and this time Whoeryu's Genji joins him. The perfect Nano Blade setup. Maka pops the Nano and Whoeryu dashes in. Milgaru's Malga slams Violet, instantly taking him out, and then he pops the cage to keep the pressure up. Milgaru does die, but Wei won't let up the pressure, with Aid using his artillery to commit unspeakable acts upon Finn's Ana inside the hallway. In the end, Maka is able to end things, farming for one final Nano.
오 마이 갓! 호와유가 싹 정리! 추가 시간 마무리 웨이입니다. 전략의 승리.
This was a huge win for Wei, but to win the whole series, they need to win 3 more maps, a truly difficult task when up against any of the top teams in Korea. Wei ended up winning another map, Suravasa, and actually managed to do it while Whoeryu's signature Genji was banned, but it just wasn't enough. On Lijiang Tower, Wei were backed into a corner. They needed another map win, and they fought their best and even managed to take Lijiang Gardens in a competitive 100-83, but ZETA were more consistent, beating the Bastion composition, allowing them to move on to the grand finals. Sorry that this video took a while to produce. I've been busy with school and streaming lately, so it was hard to find time to work on this video. If you want to watch these matches live, I do co-stream them, so make sure to check out my Twitch. And also, if you want more content from me, I do have a second channel that posts regularly with match highlights, pro player VODs, and other interesting things. So check that out, please. It's awesome. My editors do a great job. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.